Nice.
Well, how are you doing? Very well. Thanks. Cheers. Yep. Peace and blessings, Lily.
How are you? Same to you.
I'm doing all right. Um, in the timeless words of the popular singer, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, we're
What's
gearing up
going on?
for the Mixed Space Book Club happening on Discord next
Hi,
week.
hi. I remember you
So,
mentioned, I saw the announcement on you had an Instagram, I think, or you did a promo, something somewhere
mm-hmm,
nearby. Uh,
mm-hmm.
and it was like, that's July. Whoa, that's so long from now, da da da. And wait, hold up, it's July. So you're
Yep.
excited for that, yeah?
Yeah, I am excited for it. I'm excited for it, and I have meetings with two other authors today
Hi,
to
hi.
program the next couple of book club meetups coming up over the next couple months.
Okay.
And I just got back from the Holy Lands of Mexico like two
Voila.
days ago. So
Zapata,
I
an Aztec and Mayan.
exactly. So
Hey,
I'm still full of sun energy and ocean energy from being there.
yes, indeed.
And then on Friday, I'm flying to West Africa. I'm flying to Ghana
See,
on
that's what
Friday.
I'm saying. Where in the world is Lily Stifle?
I'm in New York right now, just for the
Okay,
rest of the week.
that's three.
So
Well, it's not three continents, but it's near about that way. So
yeah,
sounds well. And you're smiling and you got energy and you're walking. So healthy and blessings. Cool.
exactly.
Nice. I'm
How
glad to
about
see.
you?
I'm remembering that I'm looking to the side and I'm looking strange because I'm looking at you, but then I'm looking sideways. So I have to adjust
Yeah.
all the aesthetics and superficialities here because even then
Yep.
can be distracting or imbalancing, whatever. So I'm walking, uh, and I'm talking. That's a song, and I'm trying to remember the lyrics to that. But anyways, um, and giving thanks for all the blessings and additionally. So, what do we have going on here? It's much of the same. Just to be honest, like focusing on the homestead and cultivating just like energy. And I'm being very increasingly mindful of how much energy and vibration factors into just the environment, not just within ourselves and our own mindsets, but around us, the mindsets of the kinfolk around us. And I want to get too heavy or spiritual at the moment. Don't want to not get too heavy or spiritual at the moment, but like I'm being mindful of that and recognizing like when we're absent, like the devil flourishes in neglect. Whatever we're not giving our attention to or concentration, whatever, the seeds of separation and dissension are being sown. So we have to be mindful of the things that we're committed to, but then also how much we commit ourselves. Because if we just dilute our attention and everything else like that, the negligence flourishes as well. So we gotta it's beneficial to be mindful of that. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I've been neglectful of the home front. There's been some flourishings that require some help in balancing and healing. So I'm being mindful of that. And it doesn't take much, and it's not a matter of like washing everything all with a flood or a flame or anything else like that, but just like share some energy, play some music, sing some songs, get those positive words that literally like the Om, the sacred consonants and vowels being manifested in our environment, in our space to heal the walls, to heal the
Mm-hmm.
plants, to heal the life. So it's not just us on our own, but it's a continual and momentum is huge in life. So again,
Mm-hmm.
build it, and then shoot. Okay, don't have to do so much. So
Mm-hmm.
anyways, that's some of the things I'm learning, and the plants teach us so much. When I just sprinkle some
Mm-hmm.
water in the plants, that's meditation and conversations, therapy right there. They're like, "Oh, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
Peter? Thanks for the water. How you doing?" And we just vibe. And again, don't speak too much the English language. We got to learn with our language proficiencies outside of like the imperial ways, whatever else. But anyways, that's it. Meanwhile, I share with you that thought that I shared in the email, which is the official World Book of mixed heritage poetry. Wada. Um, so first of all, I'm going to give some like reason. So this is just not like all flailing ideas and everything else like that. What I'm actually doing, and a lot of these ideas that I share, is like seeing what hits and what resonates. Because what I'm supposed to be doing is like seeing what your, when I say your generation and your kinfolk, your collectives and your circles interests and priorities are, and like what resonates, and then like to build the connection and the cooperation accordingly. So a lot of times I'm throwing word or throwing ideas out there to see what,
Mm-hmm.
and then see
Yeah,
what
like the playlist, right? Like the music playlist you were asking
Ah,
about.
yeah, indeed. Aha, yeah. So that too. So now that's further immediate because we've already been putting the playlist together. And that is something that if there's an interest in that, we're very much interested in talking about that. The idea with the poetry is this. It's a little provocative because anytime you say the official, you like and you do it to something as subjective as poetry, like, wait, hold up, who are you saying this, that, and the other? How can you be the authority saying this official, whatever, whatever? That's part of the purpose because what we recognize in our mixed heritage kinfolk situation is that there's a need for gumption. There's a need for like some like little some for lack of a better word, and at the risk of sounding very chauvinistic, some cojones or some just like a backbone. Seriously, like yo, like every ethnic community, every tribal community, like their hardcore, their inner core, whatever, is just like, yeah. When I'm listening to the Hawaiian brethren talk about native Hawaii, like there's just this primordial, like just like force that helps carry from generation to generation, where if anything, okay, they're still on it and they're still
Like the
doing it.
haka.
So
And
exactly the haka, the
yeah.
hula, the mele, the ole,
Yeah.
the kuleana, and additionally,
Mm.
so you just like that. But when it comes to mixed folk, what I recognize is it's not
Yeah.
it's not a folk. It's like it's ebbs and flows. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times people do it when people can afford to do it. People do it when they can think about doing it and otherwise. But in terms of like who's going to be there, who's the hardcore, whatever else, it's a little bit difficult to find that. Now we're
Yeah.
steady making progress and everything, and there are communities that do that. But part of the idea with the poetry is the official book of poetry is like one of the things that is one of the mediums that's very accessible to mixed heritage kinfolk is poetry, expression,
Mm-hmm.
artistry, and additionally, particularly
Yeah.
intellectual. And we have increased amount of freedom. We have an increased amount of freedom to get delve into the poetry and an increased amount of even authority and like looking at different genres of poetry from
Mm-hmm.
like blah 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 blah. I'm trying to think of the father of Russian poetry right now. Wow, I'm drawing a blank immediately. Um, wow. His face is right there. Um, come on, the Russian poetry. Um, I'm fixated on this now because I have difficulty remembering it. Maybe it's I'm running too fast right now. Uh,
Yeah, it'll come back to you right when you're least expecting it.
well, yeah, but it's also guiding me to like, yo, slow up and just like get to the point. Um, Pushkin, Alexander Pushkin.
Okay.
Um, hi, there's usually people who are entrenched within a culture are pretty much just entrenched within that culture. So when it comes to comparative poetry, and additionally, there's an absence of anybody who has absolute authority to speak about British poetry and then also indigenous poetry or poetry from India, the Gujarat or Tamil or otherwise. So in that space of conversation and intellectualization, that's extremely valuable today because people are motivated. Because you hear some some Rumi poetry, like it doesn't matter who you are, that hits. So there's a motivation, and for people who are on the grind and they're 9 to 5 and everything else like that, they get a little bit of that poetry. Okay, they get a little bit of vacation, so it's valuable. There's a tangible value and benefit to that. So, and there's no one particular group that has authority to speak about that, which means that mixed folk have a certain amount of propriety in that respect. But then I have to have some gumption. So what provides that gumption for our intellects amongst our mixed heritage kinfolk is the official. Oh, wait a minute. Who is this? Who is this dude in Ohio saying the official, this, that, and the other? I'll make my own list. Da 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 da. Beautiful. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, do it. And so that's a little bit of that provocation amidst a very fluid and just like vibey kind of endeavor. So that's the notion. Now we've been doing this for years. We can come up with like a list of 100 right off the bat. Just going through our archives, but that's the idea, and it's a book, and this thing. So, anyways, in me as a conversation, playlists, same similar thing, but again, comparatively contemporary expressions, music, film, and stuff like that. I think comedy, like finding comedians particularly from different ethnic groups that are like know the authentic experience, and then bring it into like a larger kind of um um uh that cosmopolitan kind of mindset, I think is something that can particularly hit with all kinfolk, but particularly mixed kinfolk as well, young kinfolk. So and then having some excerpts that just like, yo, that was a nice one right there. And then you get introduced to that comedian, and then you can on your own look up other films, other videos or stand-up routines or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. But it's an introduction. So that's
Yeah.
the idea with that. Now, the also thing I share within that email is putting up something for it, because as you may well know, and we do for years, we give things away for free.
Right.
We also recognize that when kinfolk receive it, then kinfolk don't necessarily have as much value for it. They're like,
Right.
it's a nice thing, maybe, and they put it away for like 3 or 4 years, look at it 3 or 4 years later, and be like, yo, why haven't I been looking at this? So,
Right.
so in the meanwhile, having that experience for the past 20 some odd years, what we recognize is, you know what, if we put something up for it, and then people have to like give it, they're going to be further motivated to be like, yo, let me check this out. And they're going to have further expectation. They're going to have further
Right.
motivation to be like, yo, you know what, that was okay, but you know what, it was lacking right here and here and here. So we're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then we apply that critique and that feedback for the next iteration, God willing. So,
Right.
the amount that we put up might sound large, but guess what? Prices are rising up in these joints. And it's not about the money, but it is about like getting familiar with like this exchange of support, and recognizing like, no, we ain't nobody's charity on either side, and so we all have
Right.
something to the table, and doing it accordingly. So gradual
Right.
steps in that process. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm interested to hear what you think. I'm also being mindful of the time. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, I have like 2 more minutes
yeah,
before
yeah,
I'm gonna need to say goodbye.
yeah.
I really value our conversations. I know they're short. I know that I'm back to back a lot, that like it's just
Yeah.
the time because I have the standing meeting, but I do really just appreciate seeing your face and hearing your voice and like listening to
Thanks.
what you're willing to share. And yeah, I mean just being in that exchange. I think it's so valuable having like a leader of an organization like yourself and bringing in the learnings and the observations from your group and being able to be in that exchange. And we're thinking very similarly, like the book club, even we're not charging anybody for it, but the value that we're hoping to get and that we're really focused on is that engagement inside our Discord, because we've talked about a lot, how does money and currency and flow into the work that we're doing? And we don't want to call each other or our brethren a sellout, but we also have to see how we make it sustainable and how we make it possible for other people to access the work. And do we do that online or do we do it offline? And like, what does the virtual hybrid situation look like? And there's a lot of questions, and it's still such a new nascent young environment, really. And like you're saying, the people that are leaders are just kind of self-elected leaders, and we just have to claim it and then do the best we can and see what works. And so we're really focusing on the engagement being the currency. But when you do something for free, does it still have the same value? No.
Mm.
But like charging people later down the line. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how that turns out next week and what it is that we do learn, and then how we can like disseminate those resources. Like I'd love to buy, once we get this book club thing going, when you guys finish your book of poetry, then we will present your book in our book club. And then as the Discord continues to grow, we can purchase that list for $100 and then share not the list for free, but share the fact that it exists and share little excerpts and talk about it and encourage people to then connect with you and buy the list. And so
Mm.
that's like being that sounding board for you, for your guys' work. And like you're saying, giving people the opportunity to be introduced to your thought leadership. That's what I want to do.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. And so there's a lot to talk about, and I appreciate the brevity of where we're at the moment. Few brief things to say in response. One question is, what what type of media would you say would be most valuable, of most interest or whatever, when we talk about like putting together like a world cultural playlist? Would it be songs? Would it be like short films, or what kind of genre or what kind of like
Yeah.
topics do you think would be further hitting for yourself personally, for the kinfolk around you, and just from your knowledge?
Video, video, 100% video.
Video, what type of video?
Short videos under 3 minutes.
Okay.
Um, I most would like to see like some kind of information, like
Okay.
informational videos.
Practical, just yeah, not just
It's
follow
not
your
even
friends.
how to, but more like maybe it's history, maybe it's
Okay.
introducing an artist, maybe it's about a song, maybe it's about the land or a plant or the rivers or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Um,
welcome.
and then also one thought, also in response to what you were saying, when we talk about the money thing, money has an energy, and it's a divisive. I mean, just the way it's the nature of what it is. No hate, just facts. So whenever we introduce that element to an endeavor, it's always gonna like infuse itself within the vibes, and that's one of the difficulties. But like you said, it's a practical necessity, particularly for those who are putting in work and not doing other things that they could be earning a livelihood from. So, yo, respect that. And people want to do that. People want to support, but it's like, if I put money into this, I got to like hold this accountable to everything else I put money on. And so everybody has their own different philosophy when it comes to money. So what we recognize as the spitting example or whatever, but two things. One is focusing on membership. And so it's a matter of like you said, it's the membership, it's the participation that's the currency, it's the relationship. And so being continually attending to that relationship as much as possible. The second thing that we recognize is that, we need a physical space. We need a physical place where we just know, okay, if sometime I got a weekend to go to or like a week off, I can go here and just vibe and just be in this vibe that we have online. I can be in this space. It could be a retreat, it can be a house or whatever, but we just know there is a place to go, that we're not just floating out here. And it's difficult because that's when things become very territorial, and there's all the deeds and titles and all the paperwork and everything else. But that's necessary. We need a physical space. Just
Agreed.
psychologically, even if for kinfolk who live halfway around the world and don't even ever plan to be there, just to know that it's there and send other
Yeah.
people who need it to go there. We need a space.
Yeah.
And to truth be told, we need a few spaces. But meanwhile, we work on one at a time. So that's one of the things that we're working on now. I'm putting together, God willing, an email that talks about this. Oh, it's ooh, yeah. So that's one thing, and I'll share this other thing at the moment that can provide some motivation for the elements and the conditions to provide spaces, which is this thought consideration: a class action lawsuit against universities and academia for theft, dereliction of duty. We have a list of things, but basically fraud, particularly when it comes to preparing mixed heritage kinfolk to be mixed heritage in life, not providing knowledge of self, not providing programming, not providing education, not providing support to be able to live in life. And just going out, paying a lot of money in that process too, being exposed to a lot of psychological trauma, and additionally, and then being thrown out into the world unprepared, and just dealing with that. So a big thing. And the thing is, the sought after action is not money. It's not a payout. It's land. And so, anyways,
Mm,
but it's a very solid premise. But it obviously
okay.
it takes some negotiation or whatever else amidst the machinery.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, it helps to move and motivate conditions in towards that solution. So I just share that with you as a concept. But
Okay.
just because we know how much there's been neglect and intentional obstruction and otherwise. So and
Wow.
and the academia is big business. So uh,
Okay.
it's what it is. So cheers. I'm glad we're able to
Thank you.
meet. Appreciate the patience as I was somewhat tardy today. So appreciate the overstay in this half hour or so.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
The Discord is next week. Yes. The
The Discord is all the time, but the
uh,
book club is next week. Yes.
on what day of the week is that again?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. What time of the day?
In the evening, I think 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Aye. Okay. All right. Now, just specific, is it? we talked about this before. I mentioned having difficulty signing on to the Discord and opening up an account. Is there a possibility of establishing like an auxiliary account or whatever that we can have access to
Recording in
because of the
progress.
difficulty? Did I
Um,
just-
I an auxiliary account. I mean, I'm happy to do maybe like we could do a FaceTime or like a Zoom meeting where I can sign on with you or
Okay.
something so that we can get you signed on
Okay.
and we can make sure that it works.
Okay.
That's the only solution I can come up with.
All right. Maybe that's something we can talk about next week, Willie.
Okay, yeah.
And then also
Yeah, I mean,
just
we'd have to do it before next week Wednesday,
I
but like yeah, because that's
okay.
when the event
Well,
is.
I'll send you an email. Well, yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'll send you an email and we can coordinate that.
Are you going to be online before next week Wednesday?
To be honest, most likely.
Probably not. Yeah.
You
So
said
maybe
you'd
we
be
can
gone?
meet next week Wednesday and then you can join for the next month if you like,
Hiya.
yeah,
Oh, so there's a
something like
timeliness
that.
with this. Well, maybe I'll work on it today then.
Okay.
Now
I'm around today.
just one thing
I have to
is that
go.
the Discord. I know one thing. How many one things you got, Joe?
I
Um,
know.
just to be honest, like in I told you before in our conversation through the years, like I'm part of like a further conservative kind of element of society, and additionally, and just the notion of like a Discord being a platform for communication, it seems like antithetical. And knowing how things are these days, like intentionally antithetical. Wait, you. So I just that's one of the difficulties of like just
I
jumping
know.
of referring to like, wait a minute, we're just fledgling our communication and bond, and now we're going to be calling it this. So I'm just saying that
I
just as
know.
it's an aesthetic, but with the
Yeah.
openness and everything is like, yeah,
I know. I'm
oh,
very aware. I
so yeah.
know.
So
Yeah.
it's all right. So I'll
It's
work
not
on it.
ideal.
I'll work on it, and we'll see what we got. So I'm glad. Peace and
Mwah.
blessings to you, Lily.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye.
That is what we begin at the moment. I was considering doing a mukbang, but it's unnecessary. It's quarter till we conclude this join. Do I stay here for another 15 minutes? Is anybody else going to join? I'll stay on here for another 15 minutes and see if anybody else joins. Oh, fun times had by all. Uh, this is recording. Yes, yes. All right. We give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim, known by many names and beyond all names. Rastafari, all our relations, blessed love and peace. Oh, I don't know. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to sit up because this is not the best posture. Wadinga. This is what aggravated the back situation from beforehand. How about that? Yeah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's not a big deal. I'll be on here 15 minutes. No mukbang. Uh, I will work on some other stuff. Actually, do it this way. Like it. Wait, the minutes might be up. We might be on that 40-minute plan. To be honest, actually, we might be. As which this might conclude on its own in a few minutes. I guess we'll find out, but that might affect the recording. So we might have to be somewhat preemptory. Might we get a warning before it concludes? Perhaps a minute? Yeah, I think we actually are on that 40. So how long has this been? Difficult to say. 40. Is there not a timer? Is there not a countdown? Do you not tell us when this began? Hmm. Heidi Banga. Well, it does say meeting 40 minutes, so that's going to be a strong indication of its intention to conclude. We began this a little bit after noon time, so it might just conclude at any point, which is why we won't be preemptory at this point. We did open up the document to start the additional work, so technically we'd continue with that just to be as the follow-through uh, detailed. And anybody who can decipher through those incomplete sentences and phrases, kudos. That being said, we give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim, known by many names and beyond all names. Rastafari. All our relations, blessed love and peace.